We recently brought you an exclusive interview related to the case of serial killer John Wayne Gacy. For decades, Sherry Marino had doubts that the body in her son's grave was actually her son Michael at all.
Recently, DNA results showed her hunch was right. Now the investigation begins into what happened. WGN's Larry Potash picks up the story.
We have done stories about witnesses who say Gacy had accomplices and possibly more victims. Well, Mrs. Marino would like to obtain documents that could confirm whether these suspicions are true, because it could provide answers about what happened to her son.
I would do anything to have him.
For decades, Sherry Marino has lived in the Uptown neighborhood, and since 1976, she's been waiting for her son Michael to come home.
When I say my prayers first thing in the morning, last thing at night, I say, please, Lord, take me, let my son live.
Michael was 14 when he disappeared from the Lakeview neighborhood. Here's his missing persons report. Information is deleted. Attorney Steve Becker would like to see the original to see if it holds any clues. For decades, authorities listed Michael as one of the 33 young men and boys Gacy murdered. But recent DNA tests showed the body under Michael's tombstone was not his.
We believe that the authorities are trying to maintain this Gacy mythos because there's a lot of people who their careers have been built on this case. They don't want to admit that any mistakes were made.
Could Mrs. Marino's DNA match one of the other victims? 7 of them remain unidentified. Becker hopes to compare Mrs. Marino's DNA to all of Gacy's victims. In the meantime, new clues reveal a possible connection to a national sex trafficking operation. Michael Marino was last seen in 1976 near here at Clark and Diversey. Just a few blocks from here lived a man who sold boys as sex slaves to men around the country. John Norman operated in Dallas. When he was arrested in 1973, police found 30,000 index cards with names of men who paid for sex with boys. According to media reports, a number of Norman's clients were prominent people and some federal employees in Washington. But the list is gone. Officials were unable to explain why the list was destroyed. Norman resurfaced in Illinois, where he was charged with molesting 8 boys in Homewood. But it didn't stop his operation. His Delta Project was born in Cook County Jail. Norman used the jail's printing facilities to send out newsletters about his sex trafficking ring. After he was released on parole, he moved to Chicago near the 700 block of Wrightwood, just blocks from where Michael Marino disappeared.
They are trying to promote the fact that they prosecuted the case properly with Gacy as a sole serial killer. That, in my opinion, is absolutely preposterous. Gacy was working with accomplices, and now we have evidence to show that actually Gacy was connected with this nationwide human trafficking ring that operated right here out of Chicago.
Here is evidence of a Gacy connection to John Norman's Delta Project. Norman's partner was this man, Philip Paskey. As these records show, Paskey also worked for John Wayne Gacy. When Gacy was in prison, he wrote this note with details about Paskey. He writes Paskey was dangerous and pimps girls, boys for sex or movies.
I don't recall ever having seen this. It appears to be a pay stub, and I do recognize Gacy's signature up there.
Terry Sullivan was the prosecutor in the John Wayne Gacy case. Did that not raise any red flags at the time?
No, it raised no red flags at the time. The fact that he was working for Gacy, we apparently didn't know at that time. The fact that there is a link to somebody who was involved in these traffickings, I think opens up something that actually has to have a truck driven through it to see where it ends up.
After a series of Chicago Tribune stories about the sex trafficking ring, Congress investigated in 1977, just a year before Gacy was arrested. How could authorities miss a possible connection between a national sex trafficking ring and the murders of 33 young men and boys?
That is a total mystery to me. To me, the state should have raised this as a pivotal issue in the Gacy case, because the question is how many bodies ended up in Gacy's cellar that were from Norman's trafficking ring.
Doesn't surprise me that somebody could have missed a story that happened that was exposed the year before that.
They were overwhelmed.
Completely, we were overwhelmed. You have to remember it was a different age. when you did not have the computer aspects. But I can't believe sitting here that it has taken all those years now to finally put some sort of a connection to it that may possibly open up a whole new ballgame.
In Norman's apartment, investigators found pink index cards with 5,000 to as many as 100,000 names and addresses, names of customers, and the boys pinned out to them. Could Michael Marino's name be on the sex trafficking list? Homewood police now say they looked for the index card files and no records match. Like in Texas, it seems the list from Illinois has disappeared too.
I am wondering if there were names of Chicago politicians or high-ranking Illinois politicians that were on that list, and that's why this whole aspect of the Gacy case was suppressed.
A man with connections to a serial killer and a sex trafficker. Paschke, Gacy, Norman. Becker continues searching for missing documents to definitively prove a connection between the Delta Project and the killer clown to help end a mother's painful search for her son.
I would do anything, anything to have him. Just so I get to hold him one more time and tell him that I love him and that I miss him beyond words.
So far, no law enforcement agency has been able to find these Illinois lists to help Mrs. Marino. And Norman and Paschke are now deceased. Attorney Steve Becker will submit Mrs. Marino's DNA to a national database for missing persons to see if a match comes up now or sometime in the future.
The fact that he was working.
Now turning to what led to this discovery, we really enter John Wayne Gacy now. Citation 74 is Parents of Missing Youth's Hope, Fear, and Wait. The New York Times, December 31st, 1978. Lieutenant Joseph Kozenczak, chief of detectives in suburban Des Plaines, conceded that the fact that he had a son the same age and in the same high school with Robert Piest, the 15-year-old who disappeared on December 11th, made him pursue that case with more diligence than usual. The Piest boy was reported missing after he left his job at a pharmacy where Mr. Gacy had been doing some remodeling work after telling his mother that he had to talk with a contractor about a promised summer job. Citation 75 is Des Plaines PD Supplementary Report, December 13th, 1978, and it says December 13 in the book, but I believe it actually may be December 12th, as you can see here. And as far as the dump that I'm getting this from, this is the number 4 of 6. Zoom in a little bit here. At approximately 0845 hours, this, it's presumably, I don't know what that would be actually, just short of a word, but this person writing this. Mrs. Piest came to the police station with her son, Kenneth, and daughter to discuss the above-captioned incident. In essence, Mrs. Piest indicated that at approximately 2100 hours on December 11, 1978, she went to Nissan Pharmacy, 1920 Thule, apologies if I'm getting that wrong, Thule Avenue, to pick up her son, at which time she spoke briefly with the missing youth, and because of the fact that he did not re-enter the store by 2120 hours, she left the area of the pharmacy and returned home. At approximately 2140 hours, Mrs. Piest again contacted Nissan Pharmacy at which time she was advised that as of that time, the youth had not returned to the store. Mrs. Peace contacted the store on a second occasion at approximately 21:55 hours, at which time Robert had not yet returned to work. At 2329 hours, Mrs. Peace filed the missing persons report with this department. At 097 hours, I contacted Larry Torf at Nissan Pharmacy, 827-4700, and was advised that Philip Torf might be able to provide this officer with additional information regarding the missing youth. I then contacted Philip Torf at home, redacted, and received the following information. Philip Torf stated that a contractor named John Gacy had entered the pharmacy on 2 occasions, the first being at 1800 hours and the second being at approximately 2000 hours. During the time Mr. Gacy was in the pharmacy, apparently a conversation between John Gacy and Philip Torf took place, in which case Gacy had mentioned that he hires high school, presumably students, for his business, which is referred to as PDM. The PDM stands for painting, decorating, and maintenance. Philip Torf was unable to state for certain that John Gacy had any specific conversation with the missing youth, although it is possible that Robert Peace may have overheard the conversation regarding the hiring of youths between Gacy and Philip Torf. Mr. Torf stated that the reason Mr. Gacy was in their establishment, as he had done some remodeling approximately 2 years ago, and at the present time Gacy works at 2 pharmacies. Philip Torf stated that on December 11, 1978, after the store had received the calls from Mrs. Peace, he contacted the message service for John Gacy, 457-1614, although Gacy never recontacted him. During my conversation with Larry Torf, Larry indicated that Philip Torf made a statement to Kim Byers to the effect that Rob. Okay, this is Robert Peace. That Rob was talking to the guy about a job. At approximately 09:15 hours, I contacted PDM contractors and spoke with John Gacy. Mr. Gacy indicated that he had been in the pharmacy and had questioned Mr. Torf about some fixtures in the backyard. When asked if he had spoken with the missing youth, Mr. Gacy replied no, and when again asked if he had any personal contact with the youth, he stated no. At 09:32 hours, I again contacted Larry Torf and determined that Kim Byers lives on Gregory Lane and that Kim may have additional information regarding the incident. I then determined that Kim Byers resides at 8704 D Gregory Lane, 824-1612. At approximately 09:42 hours, I contacted Kim Byers and I was advised that Rob Peace had left the store approximately 2100 hours, and prior to leaving, he made a statement to the effect, quote, "That contractor guy wants to talk to me." Upon questioning the buyer youth further, she stated that he had left some of his personal belongings in the store, and she had described the youth as kind of spacey at times and indicated that on occasion he has a tendency to forget things. Kim Byers indicated that she did not observe the missing youth talking to John Gacy and did not observe the two together in the pharmacy. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here. I'm going to start here at approximately. At approximately 1357 hours, I went to Maine North High School and, in the presence of Gloria Mazzone, Kim Byers, with date of birth August 22nd, 1961, was interviewed from Kim Byers, whose date of birth is August 22nd, 1961, was interviewed from 1357 until approximately 1425 hours. Miss Byers stated that she did not remember John Gacy leaving the store, although he had been in making some measurements and was rearranging items. She further advised this officer that in her opinion Rob has no reason to leave home. Upon questioning the Byers youth further, she indicated that Rob had left the store between 2100 and 2102 hours. She is relatively certain of the time, as he had called her to the front of the store, stating, "Come watch the register," at which time she asked, "Where are you going?" and he stated, The contractor guy wants to talk to me. I'll be right back. Kim Byers stated that during the time Rob had made that statement, Mrs. Peast was in the store. Kim further advised this officer that Rob had been in and out of the store a few times to take out the garbage, and at least on one occasion he had entered the store through the back door. She believes that he took the garbage out at approximately 2000 hours, as during that time he was struck by snowballs which were allegedly thrown by little kids. Upon further questioning her about other statements which she allegedly made, specifically the statement regarding a big boy, she advised this officer that she had made a statement to the effect that Rob is a big boy and he can take care of himself, and although she is not certain that statement may have been directed to Phil Torf, Miss Byers stated that she doubts that the individuals at the liquor store could be of any assistance, because Rob did not enter that establishment to purchase any soda on December 11, 1978. Miss Byers was advised to contact this officer in the event she should develop any information that would indicate the whereabouts of the missing youth. And just for the record, this was pages 51 to 53 of this 4 of 6. Citation 76 is the same. It is Des Plaines PD Supplementary Report, December 13th, 1978. This is again from 4 of 6, and this is going to be pages 60 to 61. And the reporting officer for this portion is, let's see here, Joseph Kozensak, who's the captain heading this at the moment. Upon the reporting officer arriving at work at 0800 hours, December 13th, 1978, it was observed that a note had been left for the reporting officer by the 11-7 desk officer, which stated that Mr. Gacy had shown up at the Des Plaines Police Department asking for the reporting officer at about 0330 hours. The DO stated that Mr. Gacy's clothes were disarrayed and that he had a glassy look in his eyes. The DO advised Mr. Gacy that the reporting officer had gone home for the day and that the reporting officer had requested Mr. Gacy to come back in the morning of December 13th, 1978 for an interview with the reporting officer. After reviewing the total amount of evidence in this case, the reporting officer called the state's attorney's office in the Des Plaines Civic Center in order to have a special agent review the reporting officer's case packet on this matter, as the reporting officer felt that a search warrant should be obtained to search the residence of Mr. Gacy. At this time, the reporting officer felt that because of Mr. Gacy's background in sex crimes dealing with boys of similar age as Robert Peast, that there was a possibility that Mr. Gacy was holding the Peast boy as a prisoner in his residence. The reporting officer was advised by the secretary in the DP Special Agent Office that no one was available for review of this matter for a search warrant, but that around 1200 hours the 3rd District Supervisor Terry Sullivan might be stopping by from the Niles office. At 1100 hours, the reporting officer received a call from Mr. Gacy, and Mr. Gacy again asked the reporting officer if he still wanted to talk with Mr. Gacy. The reporting officer advised Mr. Gacy that it would still be necessary that he come to our station for a witness statement, and Mr. Gacy stated that he would be in prior to 1200 hours. The reporting officer prepared all of the necessary documents to present to the state's attorney for a search warrant request. At this time, the reporting officer assigned Detective Pickell to stand by the station, and in the event that Mr. Gacy shows up, he is to have Mr. Gacy fill out a witness statement. Detective Pickell was assisted in this assignment by Sergeant K. Fredericks. At 1200 hours, the reporting officer met with Special Agent Terry Sullivan and advised him that I wanted a search warrant for Mr. Gacy's residence and vehicles. The total case was explained to Mr. Sullivan, and he agreed to help in this case by approving the request and assisting with having the warrant approved by Judge Marvin Peters. Special Agent Sullivan assigned Special Agent Investigator Bedeau to assist the reporting officer in drawing up the request for a search warrant and the search warrant itself. During the time period that the search warrant was being obtained by the reporting officer, information was received that Mr. Gacy had shown up and had written a witness statement. During the course of his writing the statement, Sergeant K. Frederick asked Mr. Gacy if he would like to take a polygraph regarding the missing boy, and Mr. Gacy flatly refused and asked to call his attorney. At this time, Mr. Gacy was advised that he was being held by our department for further investigation and that the reporting officer was in the process of obtaining a search warrant for his residence. At this time, the reporting officer asked Mr. Gacy for the keys to his residence, and he stated that he wanted to talk with his attorney before giving up the keys. After some discussion, the reporting officer obtained the keys for Mr. Gacy's residence. Upon the completion of typing the request for the warrant, the search warrant itself, the reporting officer, in the company of Special Agent Sullivan, went in front of Judge Marvin Peters and presented these documents for Judge Peters' approval at 1540 hours. For his approval. And then at 1540 hours, the search warrant was approved. The reporting officer called next door to the Des Plaines Police Department to advise Detective Pickell not to release Mr. Gacy. Citation 77 is the Des Plaines PD Case Files Property Inventory Report 7835203 on December 13th, 1978. We're going to bounce around a little bit here, looking at a few items in particular that are noted on the inventory property report following the execution of the search warrant at Gacy's property. So first up here is items related to pederasty, pornography, and literature. Of particular note here is this entry, which was described as, and it's in quotes, so it's the title of form of literature, a study of adult-child sexual relations, and then it just says pedophilia here. Some other titles. One second here. Next on this inventory are these various types of pills. You can see all these types of medication pills likely used in for date rape purposes. We know that this is what occurred with many of the victims prior to murder. And then also of note here is a I can see. Also of note here is a hypodermic needle, or hypodermic syringe rather. I'm going to go one page back here now. This one's a little bit more difficult to read, but it describes a 1 2x4, approximately 35 inches long, with 2 holes. And then this part here, I'm not exactly sure. But what's being described here is effectively what Corll, a practice Dean Corll had also been using for his victims, the so-called torture board. A similar apparatus here. And then I believe, yes, there's one other page. I'm gonna go. There's a couple of last things on this page. Oh, might have skipped it. There we go. A couple things of note here are the possession of two different driver's license of two different individuals. There's an expired driver's license to James G. O'Toole, and then expired temporary driver's license to Michael B. Baker. Also of note here is the Maine West High School class ring, 1975, with the initials JAS on that, which we'd later find out is Gacy victim John Sick or Zick. And then also of note, once again, a la Dean Corll, a set of silver no brand handcuffs with two keys.